Here we are, people. This is the last games of the regular season here, and I just want to thank you for watching my videos up to this point. But the 2018-19 WHL season for the Calgary Hitmen has wrapped up here, and it's time for, of course, for another episode of... Hi there, it's Brett Hornby here. Welcome to the final recap episode of my Calgary Hitmen in 4 of the 2018-19 WHL regular season here, as we made it to the end of the regular season here, and this is episode 13 of my first season of recapping the Calgary Hitmen in this format here. And as we know from the previous episode at the end there, that we clinched a playoff spot coming in, so these final 4 games was playing out the stretch here. But I mean, it's hard to gauge on how I should feel about my Calgary Hitmen going into the playoffs here, as you know, the last episode there we won the final 4 games here, but as you'll soon find out, things didn't necessarily go as planned here. But we also pretty much sort of knew our fate going down the stretch here on where the Calgary Hitmen to finish, and you'll find out on who we draw and where we finish here. But you know, of course, if you enjoy everything I do on my YouTube channel, just make sure you hit like, subscribe, and follow along. And of course, I have this in a playlist here, which you can follow the journey of how the Calgary Hitmen did when they started in the preseason and up to this point here. And I'm going to say we definitely had a strong second half here after we got used to, you know, new coach Steve Hamilton here. And as I say, we're guaranteed at least 2 more episodes here, because I'm planning on doing a series preview once I get my notes together and come to my conclusion who I like in that series. And then obviously I'll do a recap of the series when it's over there. Hopefully we won, but you know, it is what it is. It's one episode at a time here. I ultimately decided just to do it that way to fit in with my schedule here. It would have gotten too silly, let's say, if I did a series preview and then I, you know, recapped like after every couple games during the playoff series. I mean, I know some say 1 playoff game is like 3 regular season games here, but anyway, we'll worry about that when we get there. But this is the last regular season episode, and we're at least guaranteed 2 more episodes here, and I plan to do the same format for the Calgary Flames recap series. So in some way, this is a dry run here as the Hitmen's playoff season starts before the Stanley Cup playoffs. The run for the WHL title, the HL Cup, to eventually get a berth into the Memorial Cup here. So enough rambling on here. Let's get cut to the chase, and let's recap games 65 to 68 in the 2018-19 WHL season from the Calgary Hitmen point of view. So let's bring up my notes here, and as I say here, the Calgary Hitmen coming into this episode have won, you know, 4 in a row here. But unfortunately, with the teams that we played down the stretch here, they definitely have had our number here, and it definitely will show in the recap here. So game 65, this is on Friday, March the 8th. The Calgary Hitmen were taking on the Edmonton Oil Kings at the Scotiabank Saddledome, and this have a 7 p.m. puck drop. And you know, as I say, playing out the string, because the Calgary Hitmen knew coming into the final couple weeks here that we're in the playoffs, and you know, let's look at potentially the Edmonton Oil Kings at being at a playoff preview here. So how this started up here, as I said, the Edmonton Oil Kings continued their dominance over the Calgary Hitmen here, and showed that you know, they're cream of the crop, at least in the Central Division here, as the Oil Kings scored twice in the first period and once in the third period here. So it was 3-0 for the Edmonton Oil Kings before Mark Koslick put the Calgary Hitmen on the board here, and then Edmonton put it away with 2 more goals in the third period here. So the Calgary Hitmen lost this game 5-1 here, and both Vince WHL, and Trey Fix-Wolnowski led the way for the Wild Kings with 2 goals each. So I apologize if I butchered especially Vince's name there. Vince Lociavo, I think that's how you say it, had a goal and an assist each, 2 goals and assists each. And then Quinn Vengefield also added in with a goal and assist. This is all Oil Kings. And Connor McDonald. Not get confused with Connor McDavid, but there's a defenseman named Connor McDonald who plays for the Edmonton Oil Kings. Had 3 assists here, plus Andrew Fillon, 2 assists here. So a lot of multi-point games to go around for the Edmonton Oil Kings. As I said, the only highlight here for the Calgary Hitmen is Mark Kastelic scored a goal here, plus it's no Battle of Alberta with a fight here, but he also had a fight with Ethan Kapp of the Oil Kings at the 12-minute mark of the 3rd period there, where it was pretty much out of hand here for the game-wise. And the Edmonton Oil Kings outshot the Calgary Hitmen 32-25. Dylan Miskew has the win for the Edmonton Oil Kings, while Jack McNaughton, the rookie, only could do so much for the Hitmen there. Unfortunately had the loss here. This win pretty much solidified, pretty much clinched the division for the Edmonton Oil Kings as they finished first in the Central Division here, and pretty much also solidified the that the Calgary Hitmen were going to start the first round series on the road here. So I'm going to say the Oil Kings definitely came out to play in this one. So game 66, this happened the next night. On Saturday, March the 9th, the Calgary Hitmen went down the number 2 and made a left-hand turn on the number 3 to go to Lethbridge at the MX Center, 7 p.m. puck drop to take on the Lethbridge Hurricanes here. And as I said at the last episode there, it looked like we were either going to play Edmonton or Lethbridge in the playoffs here, especially in the first round. And this is another potential playoff preview here. And just like the Edmonton Oil Kings, the Lethbridge Hurricanes continued their regular season dominance over the Calgary Hitmen here. Actually, the Calgary Hitmen did score first at the 11-minute mark. Son Teshigirl, actually one of the younger forwards for the Calgary Hitmen here, who has a bright future for the next couple of years here, scored his first Western Hockey League goal here. He's been in and out of the lineup from his junior midget club to the Calgary Hitmen. I know he played actually a couple games in the Corral series too, I remember when I was there, but he scored the first goal of the game, and the Calgary Hitmen actually had the lead at one point. Then the Lethbridge Hurricanes definitely showed up in the second period and scored 5 goals here. They had 2 more in the first period there and 3 in the second, which made it 5-1 for the Lethbridge Hurricanes. So after when we scored first, the Lethbridge Hurricanes scored 2 in the first and 3 more in the second to make it 5-1, and it was 5-1 for the Lethbridge Hurricanes after 2 periods here. And then Riley Fither-Schultz for the Hitmen here at the midway mark of the 3rd period scored 1 to make it a 5-2 game to maybe give us a little hope. Maybe we'll rally back. Rally back in the 3rd, flame style here, but not the case here. And like I also said, like in flame style, we did score shorthanded here. So it was 5-2 for the Hitmen here before Jordy Bellivier scored 2 quick goals for the Hurricanes here at about a minute and a half apart, and Jordy Bellivier had a hat trick for the Hurricanes here. So that made it 7-2 for Lethbridge here, and then Calgary got 2 late goals at garbage time just to kind of make it look a little respectable here, as James to make it 7-4, but unfortunately we lost this game 7-4 here against the Lethbridge Hurricanes. Leading the way for the Hurricanes here, as mentioned, Jordy Bellivier had a big game. He had 3 goals and 2 assists here. Also, Taylor Ross, he had a nice game with 2 goals and assists for the Hurricanes, plus Dylan Cousins. He chipped in with 3 assists. Logan Baleg, 2 assists, and Jake Elmer with a goal and assist for all the multi-point games for the Lethbridge Hurricanes. Actually, despite scoring 4 goals here for the Calgary Hitmen, The only player that had that multi-point game was Ladislav Yermiko with a goal and assist here. And then, as mentioned, Sean Tessaguro had the first goal. And then James Malm did also score to make it his 34th of the season in that game here. So that's who else picked it up for the Hitmen there. And then the Calgary Hurricane, or the Lethbridge Hurricanes, also got outshot 34-28. So it was another game where the Calgary Hitmen got outshot here. And since it was back-to-back night situation here, Karl Stemkowski started and finished the game for the Hitmen despite allowing 7 here. I mean, I think that's usually, sometimes that tends to happen back-to-back nights, that no matter how many goals he allows, he's in for the whole game here. Karl Tekyuk guarded the net for the Lethbridge Hurricanes here. And then before we get to the final 2 games of the weekend here, we know that actually the Calgary Hitmen knew coming in the final weekend that they will be playing the Lethbridge Hurricanes in the first round and will be starting on the road here. So hopefully we'll pick up some lessons here with the Lethbridge Hurricanes here as we when I do my preview series. I'll definitely cover how things went for the Calgary Hitmen and the Lethbridge Hurricanes during the regular season here. But so now when we get into the final weekend here, we knew that we were going to be making the playoffs, and we'll be playing the Lethbridge Hurricanes in the first round here. Because if you go back to my previous episode there, 3 of the last 4 games there, we were playing the Edmonton Oil Kings, and the final 2 games were both against the Edmonton Oil Kings here. So game 67, this happened on Saturday, March 16th. The Calgary Hitmen made the road up to the QE2 for the final road game of the regular season. It was a 2 p.m. puck drop at Rogers Place here, and this no better way to close out the WHL regular season with a classic battle of Alberta here. Except there was some battle still in it, but both teams knew their fates coming in here, and where the Oil Kings won the Central Division and the Calgary Hitmen were cemented in third here as the Hurricanes were finished second, the Lethbridge Hurricanes, so we were the 2-3 matchup here. So anyway, just like the previous game here, the Calgary Hitmen actually scored first here. Mark Kastelic potted his 47th goal of the season for the Calgary Hitmen here. Then things really fell apart from here for the Calgary Hitmen as the Edmonton Oil Kings definitely considered their dominance of the regular season here and scored 6 straight goals here, including 4 in the second and 2 in the third. So we lost 6-1 against the Edmonton Oil Kings here in the second last game of the regular season here. The end of the second and third period definitely had some rough stuff here. I mean, this is where the Battle of Alberta came in, because in the end of the second period there, Carson Fook for the Calgary Hitmen and Ethan Gapp for the Edmonton Oil Kings both took roughing penalties at the end of the second there. And then Bradley Fitter-Schultz for the Calgary Hitmen fought Zach Russell of the... Well, actually, each had roughing penalties also late in the third. There was also a fight here as Josh Prokop took a unsportsmanlike conduct here. So there was definitely some rough stuff there. That's the only highlights I can come up with from the Calgary Hitmen there. So, there was definitely less roughing at the end of the play there, and especially when you throw out this unsportsmanlike penalties, I mean, that's definitely typical for a Battle of Alberta here. And then, so when we want to highlight who stood out for the Edmonton Oil Kings here, Scott Atkinson had 2 goals, and Matthew Robertson had 2 assists to lead the way there. Goal scorers for the Edmonton Oil Kings was also Vince Lovishuttle, Jake Neighbors, Josh Williams, and Connor McDonald. Not get confused by another Connor McPlayer that plays in Edmonton. Interesting, I've got Connor McDavid and you got Connor McDonald here. Definitely interesting coincidence there. So it was a net for the Calgary Hitmen, while Jack Bendon was in net for the Hitmen, and he was in for all 6 goals. Dylan Miskey for the Edmonton Oil Kings was also in. So he had both starters in this game. And the Oil Kings outshot the Hitmen 29-22 here. So that's how the second last game went. And then game 68, the final game of the regular season, the Calgary Hitmen and Edmonton Oil Kings went down to QE2 for an afternoon game, 2 p.m. puck drop at the Scotiabank Saddledome here. And like the first game here, actually the Calgary Hitmen scored the first goal there. Riley Fitter-Schultz opened the scoring for the Hitmen there, and then it stayed 1-0 after 1 there for the Hitmen, so things were looking a lot better here. And then basically the Edmonton Oil Kings took over, but it was just basically a couple minutes in the second period that kind of sealed it there, as Vince Lovichel scored 2 goals in the third period, 3.5 minutes apart, so it was 2-1 for the Edmonton Oil Kings, and it stayed that way until, with 25 seconds to go in the third period here, where Jack Neighbors put it away with an empty netter. So the Hitmen did play a better game the next night, or next afternoon, against the Edmonton Oil Kings, but fortunately lost this one 3-1, so the final 4 games of the regular season resulted in losses here. I mean, this was, like I said, a much closer game, better played, tight defensively, like a playoff game, but unfortunately the Calgary Hitmen were on the wrong end of that one. Oil Kings did also outshoot the Calgary Hitmen in this one, 36-26. Both teams did start their backups here on being on the back-to-back nights going into the playoffs here. As Carl Stemkowski actually got one of the stars of the game for the Calgary Hitmen. You know, he made 33 saves there. I mean, the one the shot was an empty netter. So if you were doing the math at home here, so and then Todd Scott for the Edmonton Oil Kings, 825 saves here. So overall here, I mean, I still say it was a very successful season for the Calgary Hitmen, as they finished the season with 36 wins, 26 losses, 5 overtime losses, and 1 in a shootout here. So they got 78 points for the season, and it was a 19-point improvement from last season, where the Calgary Hitmen was 3rd worst in the league last season. And keep in mind that the season dropped from 72 to 68 games. So I'm going to say a 19-point improvement, getting into the playoffs with 2/3 of the roster that was on the team last year is pretty good for all things considered here. I mean, after this will be all bonus, because that was kind of my realistic expectations for the Hitmen here, is let's get into the playoffs and see how things go here. So before I get into other business here in this video here, let's just cover the player awards here that they were handed out at the last season here. So let's start off the Booster Club fan favorite went to James Malm, who's definitely been a nice pickup from the Vancouver Giants, one of the 20-year-olds on the team. And then Scholastic Player of the Year is Luke Prokop, who's the brother of Josh Prokop. And the Humanitarian Award went to Dakota Krebs. And then the Edward Jones 3 stars, Mark Kaslik, the captain, and he's also one of the 20-year-olds on the team that will be done after this season. Junior Hitman Player's Choice, once again, that went to Mark Kaslik. And then the Remax Rookie of the Year, well, this definitely was a no-brainer. Jack McNaughton, the goalie in net, the local guy. He definitely has a great future for the Calgary Hitmen, and maybe we'll talk a lot more about Jack McNaughton here years down the road here. Hockey Calgary Coaches Award, another nice pickup we got from So Current, Caden Elder. Also one of the last of the 20-year-olds that are on the team here that will be moving on after this year. Speed Pro Signs, Calgary Northeast top defenseman, a no-brainer, Igor Zamula. And then the last award, Ed Williams Player of the Year, Mark Kaslik. So that definitely rounds up the player awards, that individual awards that were handed out at the game, at the last regular season game. And so let's take a look at the player stats here. I think what I'll do is I'll put the player stats in the description here, but I'll just cover the I'll just go on the Hitman Hockey website here. I know the mobile app doesn't seem to want to work for me anymore, but I wound up going to the actual website because it covers, you see more of the players here. So how the players fared at the end of the season here, well, Mark Kaslik was the leading scorer here, and he had 47 goals, 30 assists for 77 points here. But James Malm also had 77 points, but he had 34 goals and 43 assists there. And then Carson Fook, he had 26 goals, 38 assists to 64 points. And then rounding up, Caden Elder. So we have 4 players on the team this year that scored 25 plus goals. There's Caden Elder at 27 goals, 33 assists for 60 points here. And then top defenseman You know, Igor Zamula had 10 goals, 46 assists, and 56 points here. So go to hitmanhockey.com here and want to look at all the player stats here, but I'm going to put this in the description here. And when it comes to goaltending here, Jack Manon was 25-14 with a 325 goals against average and an 888 save percentage here. And Karl Stankowski, he was 10-11 with 383 goals against average and an 879 save percentage here. That's the major goalies there. So I think I'll put that in the description there, something preserved. But so that's the quick player stats there. So if you want to see all the stats there, obviously go on the hitmanhockey.com and WHL.ca. That's where the league website is. So now let's take a look at the standings here, shall we? The final standings here, and talk about the playoff bracket here. So as I mentioned, we're playing the Lethbridge Hurricanes here. So the Central Division here, the Oil Kings had 92 points, and that was tops in the Central Division. Then the Lethbridge Hurricanes were just behind. They had 90 points. And then the Calgary Hitmen is third place in the Central Division, had 78 points. So that's the Central Division. So the East Division, this is in the Eastern Conference here. Well, the Prince Albert Raiders, they ran away with it. They had 112 points. And then the Saskatoon Blades had 98 points. And then the Moose Jaw Warriors had 88 points here. And then when it comes to the wild cards, the first wild card, actually both wild cards actually stayed in the Central Division this year. As the first wild card goes to the Medicine Hat Tigers. They had 76 points. And the Red Deer Rebels had the second wild card at 72 points. And then Brandon Wheat Kings just missed the playoffs. They had 70 points here. So to set up the Eastern Conference bracket here, Edmonton is going to play the Medicine Hat Tigers. And then, as mentioned, the Lethbridge Hurricanes will play the Calgary Hitmen. So that's the Central Division bracket part. So if we do advance against the Lethbridge Hurricanes, we're either going to play the Edmonton Oil Kings or the Medicine Hat Tigers, depending on how that series goes out. And then the East Division, well, the Prince Albert Raiders, since they were tops in the East Division and the Eastern Conference here, they take on the second wild card, which is the Red Deer Rebels there. So the Red Deer Rebels, that's your reward for just getting in the playoffs, is unfortunately taking on the Prince Albert Raiders. And then we knew for a while there that the Saskatoon Blades was going to take on the Moose Jaw Warriors there. So that's the East Division part of the bracket here. So we did at least avoid the Prince Albert Raiders or the Saskatoon Blades, but we won't see them until the third round if we get that far there. So that's the Eastern Conference side of the bracket there, both the Central and the East Divisions here. So if let's go out west here to look at how that shake down. Let's start off with the U.S. Division, the Everett Silvertips. They won that division with 99 points here. And then the Spokane Chiefs was second with 87 points. The Portland Winterhawks, they're third with 86 points here. And then the wild cards in the Western Conference, both were U.S. Division teams. As the Tri-City Americans got the first wild card at 74 points here. And then the Seattle Thunderbirds had 70 points here. And then, here, listen to this, as of this recording here, one more playoff spot still has to be decided here. And you're like, well, there's actually going to be a tiebreaker game here. Because if you go look at the BC division here, the Vancouver Giants won that division with 101 points here. But the BC division was definitely a lot weaker here. Because second place, the Victoria Royals have 72 points here. And then either the Kamloops Blazers or the Kelowna Rockets. They're definitely going to, whoever wins that game, because the Kelowna Rockets right now and the Kamloops Blazers both have 64 points with identical records here. So they get to play a tiebreaker game. So whoever wins that game will take on the Victoria Royals there. So the Victoria Royals will get to play one of those two teams. So setting up the bracket here for the playoffs here. that in the U.S. division, the Everett Silvertips will be taking on the Tri-City Americans out of Kennewick, Washington. And the Spokane Chiefs will be hosting the Portland Winterhawks. So that's the U.S. division side of the bracket here. And then when you look at the BC division, the Vancouver Giants will be taking on the Seattle Thunderbirds. And then, as I mentioned, the Victoria Royals, they're waiting for the tiebreaker game. They're either going to take on the Kamloops Blazers or the Kelowna Rockets there. So that's the western side of the bracket there. And those are the teams that are going to be in the playoffs here for the WHL here. So, as I say, 16 teams out of 22 teams make the playoffs here, and then they play 4 rounds, and whoever wins the league championship gets to play in the Memorial Cup here. So, so I got through the standings, and the playoff bracket here. So looking ahead here, well, as I mentioned, we're taking on the Lethbridge Hurricanes here as the number 3 seed. Taking on the number 2 seed for the Central Division here. So game 1 of the series will be on Friday, March the 22nd in Lethbridge at the NMAX Center, 7 p.m. puck drop. And then game 2 will be the next night, Saturday, March the 23rd in Lethbridge at the NMAX Center. So games 1 and 2 will be on the road. And then game 3 for the Calgary Hitmen will be at home. Will be on Thursday, March 26th, that's a 7 p.m. puck drop at the Scotiabank Saddledome here. And then game 4, Thursday, March 28th, will be at the Saddledome again, 7 p.m. puck drop. So games 3 and 4 will be here in Calgary. And then game 5, if necessary, will be on Saturday, March the 30th. The Calgary Hitmen will be back in Lethbridge with a 7 p.m. puck drop at the Nicholas Sharon Arena. So make note of that if you're following along here. I'll mention that in the preview where it is, because I know the NMAX Center is near Lethbridge College there, but I'll have to see where the Nicholas Sharon Arena is, but that's game 5. Game 6, if necessary, will be on Sunday, March 31st, back in Calgary, Scotiabank Saddledome. That'll be a 4 p.m. puck drop there, and if this series gets to go the distance, game 7 will be back in Lethbridge on Tuesday, April the 2nd in Lethbridge at the Nicholas Sharon Arena, 7 p.m. puck drop here. So that's the last regular season episode of my Calgary Hitmen in 4. I'm going to say thank you for watching along and following along with the Calgary Hitmen here. And as I say, one season's over, another season's beginning here, and I'm not too sure if the marketing department is still using the Calgary Hitmen playoff train here, but for the purposes of this video here, we're getting our tickets. We're at the train station waiting for the Calgary Hitmen playoff train to arrive, and then we'll start the boarding to go to the playoffs and hopefully have a nice long run to the Memorial Cup here. So, as I say, make sure you hit like, subscribe if you enjoy everything I do on my YouTube channel, and I'll do in the next couple days here for episode 14, I'll do a series preview with the Lethbridge Hurricanes. I'll read some articles and make my own notes and break down the series and see how I feel Calgary Hitmen's chances are of maybe winning against the Lethbridge Hurricanes. And then episode 15 will be the recap of what happened in that playoff series, and if that happens to be the last episode, I'll just do a final reflection of the season, or hopefully not. I'll be building up to round 2 there. So I'm going to say thank you, and I'll see you in the next video. Let's go Hitmen, and let's make a nice long run to the WHL Championship and get to the Memorial Cup there. So I'll see you then.